The thunder cracked so violently that it rattled every window in the apartment, and for a split second the lights disappeared into complete darkness. I had barely reached for my flashlight when my bedroom door flew open with a force that slammed it against the wall. Standing there was my roommate, completely soaked from running across the hallway, her face pale, her hands trembling, and tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. She looked at me with frightened eyes I had never seen before and quietly admitted that she felt safer with me. Those words stopped my heart. She had always been the strongest person I knew, the woman who laughed at scary movies, climbed mountains on weekends, and never seemed afraid of anything. Seeing her broken during that storm made me realize something terrible had happened long before the rain ever started. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe kindness and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Dad's Second Chance. Your support helps these heartfelt stories reach more people who need a reminder that compassion still exists in this world. I had moved into that apartment almost a year earlier after my divorce left me emotionally exhausted and financially struggling. My little daughter stayed with her mother during the school week and spent weekends with me, which meant the apartment felt painfully empty most of the time. Renting a two-bedroom place alone wasn't possible anymore, so finding a roommate became my only option. When Emily answered the listing, she seemed like the perfect fit. She was 28, worked as a graphic designer from home, paid rent on time, respected personal space, and somehow filled the apartment with a peaceful energy without ever trying too hard. We were friendly but never overly close. We cooked in the same kitchen, watched different shows in the living room, exchanged polite conversations, and respected each other's privacy. She was independent in every possible way, which made that stormy night feel even more shocking. Outside, the rain continued pounding against the building like thousands of tiny drums. The electricity flickered every few minutes, and the wind howled through the narrow streets. Emily sat quietly on the edge of my bed wrapped in a blanket while I made hot tea in the kitchen. She barely touched the mug when I handed it to her. Her hands shook so badly that I had to help steady the cup. She kept apologizing for disturbing me, but something deep inside told me this wasn't about thunder or lightning. Fear like hers doesn't appear overnight. Over the following days she acted as though nothing had happened. She smiled politely, returned to work, and even joked about being embarrassed by her reaction to the storm. Yet every time dark clouds gathered outside, I noticed the color drain from her face. Every loud sound made her flinch. Every unexpected knock at the apartment door caused her shoulders to tense. It became impossible to ignore the invisible weight she carried. I struggled with whether I should ask her what was wrong. Part of me believed everyone deserved privacy, especially someone who clearly didn't want to revisit painful memories. Another part remembered my own darkest days after losing my marriage. I remembered how desperately I had wanted someone to notice my silent suffering instead of pretending everything looked normal. Sometimes kindness begins with simply refusing to look away. One evening we shared dinner after a long day. The apartment felt unusually peaceful. Rain tapped softly against the windows again, though nothing like the previous storm. Without warning, Emily quietly admitted that storms reminded her of the night she lost everything. Years earlier she had been engaged to a man everyone believed was charming and successful. Behind closed doors, however, he controlled every part of her life. The worst night happened during a violent storm. The screaming outside covered the shouting inside their home. She eventually escaped with nothing but a backpack, leaving behind almost every possession she owned. Although she had rebuilt her career and found a new apartment, every thunderstorm pulled her mind back to that terrifying night. Her words hit me harder than I expected. As a father, I imagined my own daughter one day carrying that kind of invisible pain. I realized bravery isn't always loud. Sometimes bravery is simply surviving something that almost destroyed you and continuing to smile anyway. From that moment our friendship slowly changed. Not through dramatic promises or grand gestures, but through countless ordinary acts of kindness. I made coffee before she started work. She baked cookies when my daughter visited on weekends. We laughed over burned dinners, argued about movies, and slowly transformed from strangers sharing rent into two people helping each other heal from very different heartbreaks. My daughter adored Emily almost immediately. She loved how Emily helped with school art projects and never treated her like an inconvenience. Watching them laugh together filled the apartment with a warmth I hadn't felt since before my divorce. For the first time in years, our home no longer felt like a temporary place where damaged people happened to live. It started feeling like a family built through unexpected circumstances. Healing, however, is never a straight road. One afternoon, Emily received an unexpected phone call that left her visibly shaken. Although she didn't tell me every detail, I learned her former fiancé had recently moved back into the city. Old fears resurfaced overnight. She stopped sleeping well, avoided going outside alone, and once again became frightened by every unfamiliar sound. Seeing her retreat into fear reminded me how emotional wounds can reopen even after years of progress. I wanted to fix everything for her, but life doesn't work that way. Instead, I simply remained present. We changed apartment security, walked together when possible, and encouraged each other during difficult days. My daughter, without understanding the full story, drew Emily a picture that showed 3 people standing under one umbrella during heavy rain. Across the top she had written in colorful letters that nobody should stand alone in a storm. That simple drawing made all of us cry. Months passed, and little by little the fear began losing its grip. Emily started smiling more naturally again. She accepted freelance projects that required meeting new clients. She even volunteered at a local support center for women rebuilding their lives after difficult relationships. Watching her encourage others reminded me that broken hearts often become the strongest shelters for people facing the same pain. Then another storm arrived. The weather forecast warned about severe winds and heavy rain, almost identical to the night she had burst into my room months earlier. As darkness covered the city, thunder echoed across the sky. I quietly wondered if history would repeat itself. The lights flickered once. The windows shook again. I heard footsteps outside my bedroom. This time there was no desperate knock. No terrified rush through the doorway. Instead, Emily gently tapped on my door holding 3 mugs of hot chocolate. She smiled, looked at me and my daughter, who happened to be visiting that weekend, and suggested we watch movies together until the storm passed. Her hands were steady. Her smile was genuine. The storm outside remained powerful, but the storm inside her heart had finally begun to calm. That night taught me something I will never forget. Safety isn't always found in stronger walls or brighter lights. Sometimes safety is found in people who choose to stay when leaving would be easier. Healing doesn't erase painful memories. It simply gives us new memories that become stronger than the old ones. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, share it with someone who may need hope today, and subscribe to Dad's Second Chance. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind people they are never truly alone. Special request, in memory of everyone who is quietly fighting battles no one else can see, please take one moment today to check on someone you care about. Your simple message could become the light that helps them through their darkest storm. As I watched the rain finally slow outside the window, I realized life had quietly given both of us something we never expected. I thought I was simply renting a room to make ends meet after losing my marriage. Emily thought she was renting a safe place to rebuild her life after escaping her past. Neither of us knew we were actually finding something far more valuable. We found proof that healing often begins with ordinary kindness, that strangers can become family, and that even the loudest storms eventually pass. Some people enter your life for a season, while others arrive exactly when your heart needs them most. On the night my roommate burst into my room and whispered that she felt safer with me, I believed I was protecting her. Looking back now, I understand the beautiful truth. We were saving each other all along.